We're here with the illustrious, the well-known, none other than our contributor, Semaj Robinson. You know, I'm so excited to talk sports with you today. I hope you know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you invited me on the show because it's important that you get a good voice, you know, who knows at least something about the game.
You know, I'm extremely selective about people that I will actually discuss sports with. You know, everybody always thinks they know sports. They'll be like, oh, Jamal, you know, I saw this and I saw that. And I tell them, yeah, okay, I agree. I most of the time I don't dive too into it because everybody believes that they know something, but that doesn't mean you really do. And it's
That's
just
true.
a waste of breath and brain power on my end. You know, why am I going to waste my time?
Right. No, I hear you because I call those people, I call that barbershop talk, where, you know, the only people that agree with you are the people in the barbershop. So that's cool. So let's get it going. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, we got our finals matchup set. We're looking at, you know, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Cavaliers, Warriors. All right, first thought, what are your thoughts on the matchup just initially?
Well, I think one of the key things is that the focus needs to stop being on LeBron James and Stephen Curry because those are the two people that will probably be the show, but they're not going to be the individuals that carry this out to, you know, whomever is going to win this championship. Let me tell you, the one thing that has to happen in this particular matchup is that all of those supporting pieces for LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, all of those people are going to have to contribute. And on the Warriors side, you know, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut, Harrison Barnes, all of those individuals are going to have to play a key role in making sure that this becomes a team game because the way these two matchups are, they're so close in terms of the types of things that they like to do. They both like to run. They both like to shoot the three. It's going to be a good matchup, but I think it's going to be the supporting parts that are going to be the real story in this particular championship game.
You know, I agree, but at the same time, I don't. You know, I do agree that the supporting parts are going to play a huge role, but in looking at this game and the way these teams have been able to win and carry, and these guys have put their teams on their backs at times to carry them to this point, I think the reason those supporting parts are going to play such a huge role is because they have to figure out ways to slow down James and Curry because obviously they play completely different positions, so it's not just a matchup between those two guys going head on. For Cleveland, is Kyrie going to be healthy enough for them to stick him on Curry? For Golden State, Draymond Green, I mean, personally, I think he's one of the better defenders in the NBA this season. Are they going to put him on LeBron full time? And really, can he slow him down? That, just from my perspective and just the way star power plays such a huge role in the NBA, because if Steph starts hitting from the three, everybody else on the team all of a sudden thinks they can hit. They start shooting like lights out.
Absolutely.
With LeBron, and when he starts getting in the lane, he throws down one of those slams that he can get, you know, things that other people just can't physically do. That gets the team going. That gets them rolling. You see that. You say, well, I could do that. I want to look good, too.
Yeah, right. But I think you make a key point because this is one of the things that just looking at video when the Golden State Warriors played the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first matchup, LeBron James wasn't there. The Warriors won 112-94. In the second matchup, however, LeBron James scored 42 points, and they had no answer for him in terms of him driving to the basket. So what I think the Warriors are going to have to do is they're going to have to find out which matchups are going to work in terms of trying to clog that middle, because you know how LeBron James loves to drive to the middle. They're going to have to find some matchups that are going to work for them to slow him down, because once he drives, he loves that kick. And once he kicks that ball out, those three-point shooters are going to be ready. And so the Warriors are going to have to find a way to clog the middle and guard the perimeter. That's going to be a very difficult task in this particular type of matchup.
Right, especially because, I mean, while the Warriors have played great defense all season long, if in my opinion, if there was one thing that at times they've had trouble on, it definitely wasn't the offensive side of the ball. I think their defense, for part of it, I think their defense has been able to be so strong for the majority of the season because teams just got nervous because they just started scoring and so the other team will say, well, I just got to throw it up there to try and keep pace. I think that they can be taken advantage of on defense at times if teams just stick with their game. So I think that's something that's going to definitely be interesting now that the way LeBron plays and he's going to try and stretch them inside and out. That's going to be something that they're going to need to work on. While they do have some great individual defenders, Klay Thompson is a very talented defender in his own right. And I said already I like Draymond Green.
Yeah, and one of the things that the Warriors did, well, at least the coaches did, when they were trying to defend the Houston Rockets, they had to understand that keeping one player on a star player may not work. So the Warriors, they're going to probably rotate like they did. What they did with the bearded dude, the dude that shoves off everybody when he drives to the lane, and he gets his fouls by bumping his body into everybody. That guy for the Houston Rockets, the way I don't really like saying his name anymore.
Apparently,
he kind of irritates me a little bit. But what the Warriors decided to do was they started to put Harrison Barnes on him, switch Draymond Green on him, put Iguodala on him, and throw a little Klay Thompson on him because Klay Thompson was expending so much energy trying to stop the bearded dude that his offensive game was slowing down. And so I think what the Warriors are going to do, they're going to rotate those defensive assignments so that they can, get some bodies on LeBron. Because if you give him the middle, if you allow him to drive the middle, you're asking for trouble. Because once again, if he kicks it out or if he drives the lane and start getting fouls on those interior players, it's going to be a problem for the Golden State Warriors. But I do think that Ron Adams, he's a former assistant coach, defensive guru with the Chicago Bulls. I think he'll come up with a scheme that's going to work. But ultimately, the Warriors are going to really have to make sure they don't turn over the ball. Because if both teams turn over the ball, that's going to allow both teams to get out in transition to get those transition points. And, that's going to get the crowd going. It's going to get everybody going.
Right. And, obviously, Cleveland has to make sure while they're in Oakland, they don't give that crowd any more of a reason to get going, because that's a dangerous enough environment as it is. And now going into the finals, I wouldn't want to be on the court there personally. Right.
I mean, it's a Rockets crowd. They call it Roarico for a reason, and these fans are hungry. The fans are hungry. It's not a pretty picture when you look at basketball in the Bay Area. But the fans are hungry, and once the crowd gets into it, it seems like it does give the energy to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson to hit those long range shots. So it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. I really do. I think it's gonna be a great matchup, and I don't see any team either pulling away big or blowing each other out in any of those games, because I think that the matchup is really close, even without Kevin Love there.
Okay, well, we're going to get to the series in a second. I want to talk about two key matchups. Like I said, I thought that the matchups against LeBron, we kind of got into it, and the matchups against Curry are I think, going to be key for both sides. So I'd like to talk a little bit about those specifically. And I kind of want to start with Steph Curry because, Kyrie's been banged up. And I don't know about everybody else. There's been a lot of people saying Deldova is a dirty player, and after the Atlanta series, and he took that WWE elbow from Horford. But personally, I love Deldova's hustle, and I see a lot of guys in the NBA not going for those balls, and I love it. He dives on the floor. He doesn't care. I don't think he's dirty. And even if he is, he did it in a clean enough manner for me. This is a playoff, all or nothing, want to go home. He worked hard to get here. So I like him.
I think that's that football side coming out of you, and that's okay.
That is.
Yeah, that's the football side. So Dellavedova, he is. Well, this is the thing. trying to guard Steph Curry, what do you do? One of the things that I noticed that
stand back.
you sometimes you have to probably just stand back and let him do what you can. But I could tell you one of the things that that Houston and Memphis did, and New Orleans did it slightly, but not enough. They double teamed Steph Curry, and the double teaming it's a double-edged sword. If you double team him and then you leave Klay Thompson or Draymond Green open, then they could possibly hit the three-pointer also. But I do think that you have to pressure Steph Curry throughout his possession of the ball. You can't give him any space, any room. Of course, you risk getting fouls. But if you pressure him and limit his space, his ability to dribble the ball and get those little creases that he likes to get that open shot, that's when you have an opportunity to stop him. Kyrie Irving, with his knee issue, if his knee is not at 100%, or even if he's not at full capacity, that could be an issue because Steph Curry could take advantage of that.
Oh yeah, I think he has the major matchup advantage right now. Steph is Kyrie's not going to be at 100% no matter what they say. I'm sure he's going to play, but no, he will be far from 100%. That knee is a problem. He's been banged up. And Del Dove, as much as I like him, he's a great hustle player. Do I think he can match up with Steph? That's a joke. That's not even close. And I think, like you said, you have to pressure Steph when he gets the ball, but I think the key to slowing down Steph, which obviously most teams, you have to have special players who are able to do this. The key is keeping him from getting the ball. You need to, and obviously, like I said, you have to have a special player who can stay with him nonstop, force them to run a lot of different picks and screens to get him the ball, to force the ball to him. But you can't just allow him and then double him because he doesn't care how many. You can put 3-4 people in front of him. If he feel like shooting a three, he's gonna shoot it and probably hit it.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of those. Go ahead.
No, you can go. I mean, double teaming them, I'm just saying, I don't think double teaming them is going to work. It hasn't worked all season. That's why the boy's the MVP. You got to keep the ball out his hands. You got to rough him up. I think you need that Lance Stevenson blowing in his ear type of defender.
Well, we don't want to see that too much, but let's try to limit those type of pictures. But you're right. You're going to need somebody who's definitely going to be able to guard him in a way that's going to keep the ball out of his hands. But that's going to be virtually impossible. He is the MVP for a reason. And once he gets started, people keep in mind, when he's dribbling the ball, this is why I say you have to pressure him. Steph Curry is the type of player, when he dribbles the ball up court, he'll pull up and shoot a 30-foot three-pointer. So if you don't pressure him, if you sag off him, and you give him that space that he needs, then he's going to shoot at will. And those corner threes, man, those corner threes that he likes to shoot, you're going to have somebody on him because he's on fire in the corner. Uncontested threes, the corner threes, those are the things that Cleveland's going to have to be very aware of.
Okay, and we're going to get into Cleveland side of it with LeBron in a second. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back into that. All right, back at it. All right, we're going to take a look at the matchup with LBJ against those Golden State Warriors. We obviously, I think, got sucked in a little bit and went overtime, so we're going to try and make this as quick as possible to get through a couple of things. All right, so LeBron James, Golden State Warriors. I think Draymond Green, phenomenal. I've liked him since college, and everyone's saying, he's not this, he's not that. I thought he could have an opportunity to come in and be a solid player. And I remember saying that. And he went and he came in and he was solid. He's gotten better each year that he's been in the NBA. And I think at this point, he's one of the, in my opinion, one of the premier defenders at this point at his position. And do I think he's going to be able to slow down LeBron is the main question. Because obviously I prefer him on him than Harrison Barnes. I think LeBron will take advantage of Harrison Barnes playing it simple. He's going to take him into the lane and he's going to take that boy.
Yeah. Well, you might be right because when you look at footwork, Draymond Green he moves his feet very well with good offensive players who like to drive to the lane, especially if you're backing him down. he tends to move very well with his feet, and he's going to have to do that. But one of the things that I'm thinking that the Warriors may do, depending on how either Draymond, Harrison Barnes, or even Iguodala is guarding LeBron James, if it gets out of hand to the point where LeBron is scoring at will, as he did in the second matchup in Cleveland, they're probably going to double team them and take their chances with the 3-point shooter.
Well, and you almost, the way J.R. Smith's been hitting in the playoffs and, in my opinion, proving himself, you almost don't want to do that.
Right. Right. I mean, that's a double-edged sword. I mean, you can't. You have to look at it and from the perspective of, am I going to allow LeBron to beat me, or am I going to allow the other players to beat me? Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, I mean, J.R. Smith, for 3-point range, he's shooting 39%, well, literally almost 40% from 3-point range in the playoffs.
J.R. Smith is hands down in the top 5 of, like, the best scorers in the NBA, and the man gets no respect.
When his game is on, yes, he is. Yeah, when his game is on. But I don't know that you can expect him to be the same way against the Golden State Warriors when Golden State Warriors have the number 1 defensive rated defense in the league, meaning per 100 possessions they have the number 1 defense in the league.
Oh, right. No, I'm not going to misconstrue this as saying he could be a number 1 option somewhere. But if they put the focus on LeBron James, which especially with Kyrie being banged up, anyone with common sense in their mind, my defensive focus is I'm not going to let him beat me. Make Kyrie prove to me he's healthy before I even worry about him.
Right. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I go with, I'm going to let those other guys beat me. LeBron not going to do it. And when you do that, I think a guy that's going to have a large series because of that, now you call this a bold prediction, whatever it may be, J.R. Smith is going to drop some points. And personally, just based off his track record, I won't even consider that bold. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad on Golden State. I'm just saying that based on the game plan, or at least the game plan that most people would go with, I'd let him take his 20 as opposed to LeBron dropping 50.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. And from the Golden State Warriors perspective, like I said, I think they're going to either have to come up with some double teams and just see how the matchups are working. But both players are going to be hard to guard. But guarding LeBron James is different because he can play all 5 positions, and so his ability to guard you is another aspect. I mean, that's what Michael Jordan. That's where he made his game. He improved so much because while Jordan was a highlight reel, people forget he was first team defense almost every single year. And LeBron James, from a defensive perspective, he can guard you. But what you have to do is you got to make him pass that ball. You got to make LeBron James pass the ball and hope that the other players don't hit the shots.
Well, see, the sad thing is he wants to pass the ball. He's never been really that assertive guy, but I've seen a bit of a change in him. But let's go on ahead and let's advance things a little bit. Let's talk about some things that we can look for in this series.
Okay. Well, here are a couple of things that I think. Let's do a couple of these. One of the things I think that both teams are going to have to be very aware of, will both teams be able to defend the 3-point shot? Mm-hmm. As we know, the Golden State Warriors are a 3-point shooting machine. When they're on, they are on. And in these playoffs, in terms of what Cleveland has been doing, when they've been on, it has really propelled them in the games that they've played. So can both teams guard the perimeter? Will they be able to guard the 3-point shot? Okay, I like that one. I think that team has definitely taken itself into the image of Steve Kerr, the way they've been hitting shots from range. I would expect anything less from Steve Kerr's coach team. I would not. Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
I got one for you. And this is one of my personal favorites. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about hearing this, knowing that you're a Warriors fan, of course. But a loser is going to win. The Cavaliers and the Warriors are both historic losers as far as basketball goes. I mean, Cleveland has a history of losing in sports in general for the most part. Right. So regardless of the outcome, however the series goes, one of those two is going to win, and these are two franchises that don't have. This is an out of the norm for the NBA, where normally the rich get richer. We have two historically, I guess, bad franchises.
Yeah,
and one of them is going to be the NBA champion.
Sometimes I almost take my breath away as a Warriors fan. It's been rough, I mean, there have been many years, long suffering years that the franchise has gone through. Many years where they won 17, 19, 20 games, and this was. I mean, can you imagine this? One year the Warriors started off 5-0. For the rest of the season, I think they won 15 games.
Oh my God,
that's some scary stuff, So 40 years without a championship is a long time. It's a long time. 1975 was the last time the Golden State Warriors won a championship, and so the long suffering that the fans have gone through. This is. I don't know what the environment is going to be like on next Thursday, but I do know that when those fans come to the arena, you may see fans from 30, 40 years ago who experienced that championship. As a kid, maybe they were young when they experienced it. Maybe they were 10, maybe they were 12, and now the next time they had an opportunity for the Warriors to win again, it's 40 years later. It's going to be something else. It's going to be something to look at. And for Cleveland, as we know, they've had some historic losses, some very devastating losses from the football side. And get into the NBA Finals, the only time they did, they got swept by the San Antonio Spurs. So both franchises will be eager and hungry to win this NBA championship.
Okay. All right. What's your next one? I know you got another one that you want to say to.
The last thing to look forward to me is the coaching. You got two rookie coaches.
Okay.
That's going to be coaching in their first NBA championship. Sometimes some people have said there's only one coach that will be coaching, and then LeBron James will be player coach. But we won't get into that. We don't know. What I will say is, what coaches will make the proper adjustments if something isn't working? What are your substitution patterns going to be? How many minutes will you be giving the players? What coaches will make the proper adjustments to make sure that they give their team an equal opportunity or the best opportunity to win?
Okay, I got one more thing to watch now. This will lead us into our, I guess, predictions for the series.
Yeah.
All right. There's been a bit made about Little B. He's cursing players. He cursed Kevin Durant, and he warned James Harden, and the Rockets did kind of fall off a cliff after he warned them. Not to say that the Warriors didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But when the Cavaliers, beat the Hawks, he sent out a warning to LeBron, Kyrie, and JR for the same thing. He warned them for stealing his flag. And Iman Shumpert took it upon himself to try and avoid that problem. And he reached out, he tweeted back at Lil B. So Lil B is now cheering for the Cavs. How will Lil B affect this series?
Let me say this. If Lil B has affected any of these series, then he needs a new job because somebody is not paying him what he needs to be paid because I don't even know who Lil B is. All I know is that he's been doing a lot of talking, and I don't think he's going to affect any aspect of the series, but other than just putting out some tweets to try to get stuff in people's head. But no, Lil B ain't. You don't have no.
It's like the Madden curse was a few years ago. I mean, Kevin Durant got cursed, and all of a sudden, the injuries started rearing their ugly head. It's possible.
It could be possible, but not this year.
All right, so we got a 7-game series, 2 competitive teams. I will let you go first because I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of who you're going to select to win.
Okay, you just might be right. Well, in game one, which is Thursday, they got the Warriors favored by 6 points. So I don't know if you know this, but this is the largest point spread that LeBron has faced in a game one. So that's an interesting note. I will say this: I'm looking at Golden State Warriors, but I honestly believe it'll go either 6 or 7 games. 6 or 7 games. I'm pushing more towards 7 because I think I think home court advantage is going to play a major role. But I think the key, if the Warriors win the first 2 games, then that's when the Cavs have to make sure, of course, obviously, that they get one of the next 2. And the other key aspect to this series is that they're no longer doing the 2-3-2. It's 2-2-1-1-1. And I think that's going to help the team that's at home.
Okay.
That
makes sense. Golden State in 6. This is what I'm hearing. All right. I had a pretty good idea that you were going to say that. 6 games. You said it was going to be competitive, no blowouts. So now for me, I think I completely agree. I think this is going to be a competitive series. I think home court advantage is going to play a huge role along the way, and I think such a role that I think it's going to take it to 7 games. Obviously, this is what the NBA wants, especially after these, dare we say, lopsided conference finals.
Yeah,
so they definitely are looking to try and extend this thing as long as they can, but I'm thinking it's going to go 7. I think the injuries are going to play a huge role, and I do think that I think Steph Curry is going to get his along the way. But that being said, I have seen something in LeBron this playoff season, this off season, that I've never seen from him before. I think him wanting to bring a championship back home, him wanting to bring a championship to Cleveland has changed him. I think this team has changed him. This is not the same LeBron that was with Cleveland the first time. This is not the same LeBron that was in Miami. When after that Bulls game, he said, the play was for me to inbound the ball, and I said, no, I'm either going to win it or we're going to go to overtime. At that moment, I realized that this was a different monster. I think it's going to be 7 games, and I think in Game 7, LeBron has the game of a lifetime and brings that championship home and does exactly what he set out to do. Wow. That's my prediction.
Okay. I've heard you. You all have heard us. Warriors in 6.
Hey, that's just my thoughts. I'm just saying I think that this is a man possessed, and there's nothing more dangerous than a man hell-bent on doing something he set his mind to. And I'm not saying that Steph Curry this is his year. The man hitting 3-point shots with his eyes closed. But, LeBron he's one animal. He is an animal that nothing else. I don't know how you compare him. It's the reason his expectations are so high.
Well, I'll say this. We'll be watching. I'll definitely be watching. And I'm excited about this opportunity to relieve 40 years of heartache. But, thank you for having me on.